Now, the Israeli army is holding a briefing on the Gaza hospital strike, and we'll play a little bit of that in the next hour. But the IDF has said that Hamas has waged a social media campaign to blame them, and they've inflated the number of casualties. We will update you throughout the morning here on talkTV.
Moving on now, a new poll has revealed that Brits are overestimating how many people come to the UK by as much as tenfold. The study carried out by the British Red Cross found that more than half of us assume the number of asylum seekers settling in the UK is greater than what it actually is, whereas 1 in 10 of us believe more than 75% of people migrating to the UK are asylum seekers.
I don't know what that means, but I will say this. As a country, do we misunderstand the issue of immigration? It is, without any doubt, right, probably one of the most emotive subjects. I'm delighted to bring on Ben Lockane, a migration research fellow and a legend, Narinder Kaur, broadcaster, who basically should be at home with the kids. Can we cut to the chase? Migration, whether we like it or not, is the number one thing that people are concerned about. We were told after Brexit...
It's not, it's the cost of living crisis, but it's very important.
No, all right, mate, you're right. I'm going to say absolutely. But you know, our borders are there. Ben, people are asking this morning, is it racist to say there's a migration problem?
No, not at all. In fact, there's net support among all ethnicities in the UK for lower migration, because at the end of the day, it's a question of numbers. It's not a question of where you're from or who you're from. It's a question of, can 600,000 additional people come to the UK every year without the NHS facing huge amounts of strain, school places, roads, shops, every single part of the country, there's more strain on, there's more competition, and, you know, there's less to go around, effectively. I think that's the main point.
Narinder?
Well, I'd say that's the government's problem. That's not the asylum seekers' problem. And I think that you're actually misdirecting and confusing. And the reason why British Red Cross had to conduct this report was to tackle misunderstanding and confusion. The fact that from the 2,000 adults that were polled, nearly 60% thought 75% of migrants come to this country were asylum seekers, where actually the real figure is only 7% of the 100%...
Net migration.
Yes, are only asylum seekers. 7%, it's a small number. And the fact that you go around with this rhetoric that, oh, it's the 40,000 coming on the small boats, they're the problem, they're the reason why we can't get...
How many... Hold on a second, I'm confused about what you just said. How many... So I'm always told by my mate here and everybody else that a majority of people that come on the small boats are refugees and genuine people, right?
Yes.
Is that a fact?
That's small boats, yes. But we're talking about net migration.
British Red Cross have conducted this to tackle the confusion amongst the British public. God knows where this confusion's come from, which has come from actually Suella Braverman, that actually only 7% make up asylum seekers, whereas the British public think it's 75%.
Ben, so as much as you say it's not racist to question migration and immigration policies,
it is racist.
There's no...
I tell you why it's racist.
It's not
because Ukraine, the war in Ukraine showed that Britain can respond in an alternative way, but only for Ukraine.
But you know, Narinder, you know I'm going to say, Ben, I have to say this, and we always talk about this, and it's important to have different opinions. I've always tried to base my opinion on what the people, the good people of the United Kingdom, who are going through the very thing you mentioned, a cost of living crisis. I think it is fundamentally wrong to say, hold on a second, if you feel that your life is struggling and other people manage to come into this country unheralded and get stuff, that you don't get despite the fact you've paid your taxes for years, how is that racist?
Gerald, that is complete, because it's completely misunderstood. You're blaming 40,000 people for the problems in the NHS, the housing, the gas bills. That's the government's problem. Guess what the government are using?
Let me make my point here. Charity begins at home, and if people are struggling in the UK, you can't turn around and say we've got to help the rest of the world. You need to deal with the problems at home. You're not blaming them. You're blaming the government for letting people come in when they're struggling.
But we have to let people come in.
Just give me 1 second. There's no... So you might very well say that it's not racist to question immigration, because immigration is, you know, ultimately is a government policy, etc. However, there are an awful lot of racist people who use immigration issues to bolster their racism.
Sure, and you could say in the same way there's an awful lot of racist people who were protesting outside the Israeli embassy the other day over the stuff that's going on.
How is that racist?
No, but I'm not saying it's a racist thing to do. I'm saying there's plenty of people perhaps who weren't racist there.
Come on, let him
There were
speak.
perhaps many people who weren't racist there, but there were also plenty of people who were, who don't like Israelis, who don't like Jews.
That's incorrect.
I'm saying that to say there's racist people who support a certain ideology doesn't mean that ideology is inherently racist.
No, it's not a fact. The fact is this British government, Boris Johnson, allowed Ukrainians to come in all nice and we welcomed them.
But I'm going to say to you, you're going to look...
This country has never accepted immigrants. They never accepted them in the 50s, 60s. My parents came here. You know this legal migration. They were legal. My parents...
This could go on forever. I love this. We've got to go to a break.
Jeremy, my parents were legal. But guess what? They weren't welcomed. I'm still not welcomed. I'm still called the...
I've had you here this morning. What are you going on about?
Do you not tell me that this country accepts legal migrants? It's a complete...
Never ask me to do this again when you don't give me half an hour. Can you